Now what we're gonna do is to write a method in this add sales dialog to retrieve that invoice number using the method we wrote in sales DAO, to use that method to retrieve that invoice number and present it here once this dialog has come up. Okay, so what we're gonna do is to go over to the source of this add sales dialog, and then we're gonna write a method to generate the invoice number by using the method that we have on this sales DAO, this very method we just wrote in the previous video. Now what we're gonna do here is that we need to call or invoke this method generate invoice number here. So we'll say string invoice number equals sales DAO. Let's be sure that we've imported sales DAO. So sales DAO dot generate invoice number, and then we can now say recall that what our goal is to make it appear here. So we need to retrieve this text field. This text field's variable name is invoice number TF over here. So we need to reference the text field's variable name, which is this dot invoice number TF. And to set the text on the text field, we use the dot set text method. The set text method from jtext component sets the text of this text component to the specified text. If the text is null or empty, has the effect of simply deleting the old text. When text has been inserted, the resulting correct location. Okay, they are talking too much, so let's just call this method and pass in a string, and it will insert the text for us. Okay. Alright, so what we're gonna do now, we have an unreported SQL exception because calling this method, you can see this is the method that is supposed to throw SQL exception, so we need to handle that SQL exception here because this is the view. We should be handling our exceptions here in the view, so that if it happens that we have a database problem, then it will tell us what's the problem from here. So we'll try and catch SQL exception, and then just like every other exception, I'll call it XCP. We'll have to import SQL exception from java.sql.sql exception, and then in order to tell our user that there's something wrong somewhere, we need to make a toolkit to make that beep sound I was telling you about. So toolkit.get default toolkit.beep, and that will make the beep sound. Then excuse me, and then we'll do goption pen dot show message dialog, show message dialog. Okay, the show message dialog will take as its argument the parent component message and title and the message type. So we're gonna select this, then we're gonna put the parent component to be this dialog, which is this. The message we're gonna pass in is going to be there was an error while generating the invoice number. There was an error while generating the invoice number. Okay, the title of the message in the message dialog in goption pen should be error. Let's fill out an error, and then the dialog type should be goption pen. dot error message. Okay, so you will see that there are various types of J-option pane, and this one is going to be an error message J-option pane. So the next thing we need to do is to print out a stack trace, if any. So if we have an exception, we split out the stack trace so that we can see it as well in our console, we as the developers, and you need an error output stream to spit out the stack trace. So that's it for this method, generate invoice number. So it will call the sales DO.generate invoice number to get the invoice number, and then use the invoice number to set the text field. So once that sets the text field, but we need to invoke this method in order for this to happen, because this method has private access. No one outside this class is going to invoke it. So in order for us to do that, we need to do that when this sales dialog is instantiated, and we need to do that after init components, because the init components method is the one that is a hidden method right here in the base. It was generated. It was the method that instantiates the labels and the text fields and all the components in this dialog, and then the invoice number text field was instantiated here in the init component. So it is important that the text field that we are going to set the text should be instantiated first before we try to set the text, else we will run into what we usually call a null pointer exception, and that can be very annoying. So we'll have to do that after init components. So you can come down here and say this dot generate invoice number. Alright, of course there ain't gonna be any exception that is gonna be true, because we've handled it here. So if it fails to generate the invoice number, it will tell us what's the problem. Okay, so yeah, alright, let's go ahead and test what we've done so far. So I'll come over here to check that we are not running it. Fine, we weren't running it, so I'm gonna click on this run button. Here we go. So here's the window, and I click on add record, and there it is. We have an invoice number generated. Wow, that was beautiful. So that's gonna be an invoice number, but the problem now is that a user might be able to make changes to the invoice number, and that's bad. So we have to do something about that. So in order to prevent the user from modifying that, we need to disable this text field by coming to the design view and then right clicking on the text field, and then we go to properties, and here is the properties. Then we set the editable, we untick the editable, so the text field is not editable. So I'm gonna close this, then I'm gonna save it. Okay, so let's run it one more time. So I click on run. So here we go again. I click on add record, and yeah, the invoice number has been generated again. I believe this is different from the one we had previously, because this number should be random. Well, anyway, the text field is uneditable, so we've succeeded in that one. You can hear the beep that prevents me from editing the text field. I mean, I can't place a cursor inside that text field. So that's how to generate the invoice number automatically, and we're gonna stop there for now. In the next video, we will fill this form and then make the save to pick the invoice number, the description that you fill, the price, so the customer name, and then throw it into the database. So I hope you found this informative. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to visit our website. So thanks for viewing. See you in the next video.